People can live at the Elders Lodge.
I know right now I think we have 20 residents, and we have two empty beds. So we have 6 beds that are allocated for extended care or respite, and the other 16 I believe are independent apartments.
What happens when someone becomes very ill?
We never want to look at any of our residential our homes as institutions. So we always treated the people that come to the Elders Lodge as independent and as if they were in their own home. So we always say, okay, they're at the Elders Lodge, they're not well, how would we treat them if they're at home? So we use that same approach. Of course, we always, as home care nursing, as home and community care, our goal is always to keep people in their home as long as they can, as long as they're safe, and that's our goal. So if they're not well, we try and manage their care in the lodge, and of course it's probably easier than in the home because we have so many support services in the lodge. We have the security guards, we have the kitchen, we have the activity department, we have many different support services, and of course the nurses are located conveniently in the lodge. So we try to address their medical needs while they are in the lodge. We never want to put anybody at risk. We don't want one of our patients to put anybody else at risk. So if we seen it was something that was unmanageable, sometimes it's something acute. If they're really sick and they're at the lodge, well, they have to go to an acute care hospital like Anna LaBerge or the Jewish General. They're not sick enough to go to Anna LaBerge, but they're too sick to be at the lodge. So that's when we would try to get them into Cattery Hospital, into an acute care bed, till whatever's going on with them is resolved.
So if someone comes in as an independent and their health declines, what happens?
Once we start seeing the signs, we always try to intervene early, have them assessed early, and then our number one line is always, because we never want to rush anybody into the hospital. Our goal of our whole program is to keep people home. So we would link them up with day center. We have a day program in the Elders Lodge. We have a day program at the hospital. We assess to see what program will fit them better. So sometimes, and especially for our dementia and Alzheimer's people, we know that eventually, unfortunately, they are going to end up in a long-term care setting. So we do encourage them to attend the day center at Cattery so that they get familiar with that environment. So when the situation gets so bad that they can no longer remain at the lodge or in their home, then that's when they would go on the list for long-term care. But we always start with the day programs first. So maybe 5 days a week they're going to day program. But if after a long time still, like if they had begun to wander, or if they were just so sick that they needed services like in the evening or in the middle of the night where there's no nurses available and no home health aides available, then we would start working towards having them admitted to Cattery Hospital as long-term care. So we have, we're 2 different organizations, but we work as one because we work together to utilize all our services to benefit the client.
What happens if you realize they need to go to extended care but they don't want to?
Yeah, that's a challenge, and that's a challenging situation, and we are faced with that often. So again, what we do as nurses and as social workers and as support people, we do a lot of educating our clients, and we start, warming them up to the fact that their situation is changing, and our goal is that we want them safe. And if they can no longer be safe at the lodge or in their home, then we have to start looking at other options.
You mentioned day programming. What kind of activities go on?
Like I said, there's 2 day programs. Some activities that they do are similar and some are completely different. I know both programs, for both programs they have outings. They have swimming, they have going bowling, they have apple picking, they have, and like I said, they're always assessing the needs of their clients. What do they want to do? They must survey, what would be interesting to the elderly population attending day center. A lot of the in-house activities would be, I know they have a lot of activities to do with music. They have people come in to play music. They have singing. Both programs have exercise programs. They have arts and crafts. They have, I know, like throughout the year, they have craft sales from some of the crafts that they make at day program. The, there's just a number. I mean, I can't speak for the activity departments. They would know best. But you know, the Dudas walk, and they have.
So they're kept very busy then.
They're kept busy. Yeah, between the two programs, there's quite a lot of activities going on for them.
If you want to be alone while you're at the Elders Lodge, is there a quiet space to do that?
For the both programs at the hospital and at the Owanuksa program at the Elders Lodge, there's residents that come in, they're outpatient services, so people that live in their homes come into both those programs, so they don't have that option to go back to their room because they don't have a room. But for the inpatient department, they would have that option, and for the Elders Lodge, they would have that option. Say it's a day it's a rainy day, they're lazy, they're tired, they don't want to participate. Nobody's forced to participate. They're always encouraged because it's, you know, it's easy for us to kind of lay around and want to do nothing, but it's more healthy for them to participate in the activities.
Since we're talking about difficulties getting old, do they experience difficulties adjusting?
With any age, there's changes. There's physiological changes to us. There's psychological changes to us. So an elder is no different from anybody else. They have their good days, they have their bad days. But where we would see them really struggle is this in the area of their loss of autonomy. When you were able to do something your whole life and you're no longer able to do it, it's a challenge. Now they have to depend on another person to bring them here, to bring them there. So this is a part where family plays a very important role, because we have to be aware of it, and how do we compensate for that? It's the family's role to get involved, okay, they can't drive, but they still want to go in their car. Bring them here, bring them there. You know, ask them what do they enjoy. Sometimes it's a few spins around town. Sometimes it's just going to Chattagee and get something to eat. So that's probably the hardest part of growing old, is the loss of autonomy. And it's our role as family, as friends, as caregivers, as a community. How do we support them? How do we help the transition? How do we, you know, make it easier for them? Something the elderly like to do, I hear over and over and over. I'll say, I'll hear there's some kind of family function, and oh, how come you're not there? Oh, I don't want to bother them. Oh, I don't want, someone's gonna have to come get me. Oh, you know, or don't tell my daughter because they're working and I don't want to bother them. So a lot of times they don't tell their family everything. So the family thinks everything's okay, and here the elder is suffering in silence. We have to really be aware and listen and watch, and, you know, for the cues, for the signs, and we have to find a way to try and compensate. You know, we can't 100% sometimes give somebody back their autonomy, but we can try the best we can, and we can encourage them to do things that they still know how to do. And that's the probably, if we're going to close this off, the message would be that we as caregivers, we as family have to not take away. If somebody can do something, let them continue to do it, because when we take away stuff, sometimes we're just trying to help, but if we take it away, they won't get it back. That it will be taken away their independence, and we don't want to do that.
What can we do as a community to ensure that we're taking care of our elderly?
Everybody has rights and everybody has a role. And I mean, and I tell the home health aides that too, you know, because sometimes we get very task orientated. We want to go in and clean their house and help them to do the things they have to do for themselves, but sometimes they just want to sit around and talk. If you take 10 minutes, 15 minutes to go and tell a few stories with them, to talk to them, to just give them that a little bit of attention, it can make such a difference in their life. And you know, one thing I'm proud to say is that we have an open door policy, and we receive phone calls all the time about somebody who's concerned, about a neighbor, about a cousin, about a friend, somebody who's maybe a little socially isolated. And you know, we always try and take every referral and every concern seriously and try to address it, to try and make people's life a bit better. And we do a lot of education and try to let our community know what's out there, because as a community, we are very fortunate. You know, we're very fortunate. People know each other, and we have a lot of programs for a small community. We do have a lot of programs available, but sometimes we just gotta nudge people along because they don't want to bother anybody or they don't want to participate. They just kind of want to just exist, and it's not always the best thing for them, especially if they want to hang on to their independence.
Thank you, Tracy, for coming. It sounds as if you're doing a very important job. I really appreciate you bringing light to what the elders go through every day, and hopefully this will make the community more aware.
I really enjoyed doing this interview. You had very good questions. You shed a lot of light on the subject. That's a very important subject. Volunteers are so important. And that's an area where the elderly can really be of help, because many of our elders, they have so much knowledge, they have so much experience, and they're still very autonomous. So they can help other elders. They can help in their homes. They can help just keeping people company. They can go on outings with people. They can help at the elders lodge. They can help in the hospital. I just want to just bring up a fact that I forget the exact number, but the Jewish General Hospital in Montreal is one of the best run hospitals, and that they have so many volunteers, like in the hundreds, and that's a key factor. So the volunteers help the person that they're helping, but they help themselves because it makes them feel productive, be productive, and remain productive in their elderly years. So, you know, that's what we really need. So if anybody is hearing this, put your name in to volunteer, because we really do need volunteers in this community.
We've come to the end of another episode of Walk in My World. If you have any comments or questions, you can email me at walkinmyworld@yahoo.ca. We would really like to hear from you. Ona.
More than 14% of all Canadians have a disability. For Aboriginal First Nation Canadians, there are 33% of people living with disabilities. People living with disabilities are subject to exclusion, poverty, and isolation. There are higher rates of depression, suicide, violence, and abuse for people with disabilities. We know that for Aboriginal Canadians with disabilities, all these rates and percentages are even higher. Statistics according to Independent Living Canada